What if you could reclaim hours of free time each week, create legacy building wealth, and devote more energy to your passion projects without giving up on your career as a life-saving MD? My name is Vikram Raya, functional cardiologist, high performance coach, and real estate expert. And I'm here to give you the tools, strategies, and solutions you need to transform your life so you can unlock your limitless potential and achieve greatness, all the while freeing up your precious time. Welcome to Limitless MD. Let's dive in. So number one, don't quit your job early. Stay at it until you really have to leave, as it will fund your other investments as well as increase your wealth. That's number one. Number two, invest in stocks long-term, passively and consistently, as it will generate your compound interest. Number three, start collecting rent today through subletting a room in your current property or buying a share of a rental property, depending on what you can afford. Once you have enough saved up, you can buy a small rental property with good rental potential and use the rent to generate savings for other properties you might buy in the future. Another thing is, Airbnb, right? When the other time, like let's say you go on vacation, 2 months out of the year total, 8 weeks. Those 8 weeks can be configured into income because of short-term rentals. And I think there's a loophole in the IRS saying you can actually rent out your primary residence to your own company for rent. So there's all these other strategies. You want to talk to your CPA about that. Number four, create a digital product based on your area of expertise and sell it to collect royalties each month. You could start with something simple like, hey, here's a course to do, here's a course to find a nanny that's foolproof, right? How many people out there would love to find a really good nanny, and they've tried it, they failed, they had to go through several rounds of finding the right nanny to find the right one. So you could scour the internet, find books on finding nannies, finding good employees, coming up with an interview process, coming up with a checklist, coming up with the best websites, put together maybe a 3-day course, 5-day course, sell it for, $79. There we go. Now you're starting to get, income coming in. So again, figure out your expertise and create a digital product based on your area of expertise and sell it to collect royalties each month. And then use your imagination. This can be anything as complex as sewing, cooking, business, or coding classes for kids, high schoolers or college students, who teach a photography class, music. All right. But also, if you're a doctor, there's so many skill sets, as a physician that can be very helpful either to other physicians or to the general public. Next, again, this is sort of a stepwise order. Start a business, grow it on the side of your main employment through scheduling time in the week to work on it. Amazon businesses, Craigslist businesses, eBay businesses, very easy. Etsy businesses, right? You can consult, you can speak for a company, you can freelance, you can go on Upwork and become an Upwork freelancer. There's a website called MD-Flip, MD-Flip, where you can lease out your medical expertise for pay as a consultant. Consider 2 to 3 hours after work every weekday or on the weekends, and consistently grow to generate a consistent additional income. Save a set percentage from your income in a savings account and forget it exists. Now, I don't recommend that because inflation will kill it. So I say invest that money pretty wisely, and that will accelerate your growth. And then finally, sell appreciated assets as a result of research of highly in-demand niches, obtaining or creating products or services and supplying them at a greater cost than their book value. So this could happen with real estate. This could happen with, potentially NFTs. Maybe it's crypto. Maybe you really got good at it. Maybe it's, you're doing options and covered calls and you really figure out how to do that well. Maybe you write a book and, it's a popular book and potentially that can really sell. So figure out basically how to buy more assets. Now, some of these assets can cash flow. Some of these assets can just appreciate. Rolexes are now considered an asset. Porsches are considered an asset. Certain artwork is considered an asset. So if you have some passion in that and you're collecting it and it potentially can appreciate, then that's a value. So guys, I hope this was helpful. Again, it's going to be a deliberate, hard, and silent work for about a decade. But you do that on the side of the time is going to pass regardless. Might as well create multiple streams of income on the back of your W-2 job. And remember, the average millionaire has 9 streams of income. How many do you have right now? There's levels of competency, right? There's unconscious incompetence. You don't know what the heck you don't know. Next is conscious incompetence. Oh,
Incompetence.
you realize, oh my God, I don't know a lot, but at least I'm aware of it. Then what he's doing is like
Then
his
it's
strategy.
conscious competence where you're having to work at it.
Yes.
And it's like, this is hard, man, and I'm getting better at the skill.
You're like thinking, okay, someone's throwing a punch at you. You're physically thinking block, and you block. And then there's like where you're just walking down the street and someone tries to throw a punch and you're still eating an apple, and boom, your hand comes up. Muscle memory.
Muscle
you don't
memory.
Think about it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So that level,
that's called unconscious competence.
Unconscious competence. Exactly. And we help people develop that in their own words, in their own style. So we can give people the scripts to start with. And what we do is we do repetition, repetition, repetition. And then what we do is we take the scripts away, and then we get people to practice it with different words, their own style. And then what we do is we practice with what we call perturbation. And perturbation means you can use whatever words you want. However, you're not allowed to go stutter, use the word but, or excessive long pauses. And the reason why we say we can't use the word but is because when you use the word but after you acknowledge someone, you negate your acknowledgement. So for example, in the context of what I mentioned earlier, Vikram, it would be, wow, that's expensive. Hey, Vikram, thanks for letting me know how you feel. But what exactly are we comparing it to? My but that I used would negate thanks for letting me know how you feel. In other words, I really don't give a shit how you feel, pardon my language. And so, and really people aren't aware of this. And there's people that use the word but so often and they wonder, why am I losing sales? It's because our minds are powerful, and the brain picks up on all of this stuff, including the words but, your body language, your tone of voice. And so we'll call people on, hey, you know what? Change your inflection because you're coming across like a real a-hole. And they're like, what? It's like, and we record all our sessions. So it's like, watch the recording. It's like game film. Listen to yourself. Yes. And suddenly it's like, oh my God, I had no idea. And we give 100% money back guarantee. If you're not growing your sales, we'll give you your money back because we know it works.
So Joe, the kind of doctors who listen to my podcast, there may be plastic surgeons or dermatologists, estheticians. They're selling packages, of different services because these are not normally covered by insurance.
Oh, I got a lot of pay for play doctors in the
and same thing with we have people who are integrative functional, maybe they're high performance doctors, orthopedists, PRP injections, regenerative medicine, like you said.
Yep.
How are they utilizing these skill sets to improve their businesses?
Great. I love it. So first of all, some of them are, what they're doing is they're not only for themselves learning this skill, they're getting their staff to learn the skills. They're getting their front line. And when I say front line, I mean, imagine what would it take for someone who's answering the phone to then be able to get the appointment booked? Because it's not just closing the sale. You still have to go all the way from the beginning. It's leads. Then are they setting the appointment? Are they showing up for the appointment? And then are you closing them? So we help everybody through the whole process. Lead, set, show, close. Because if the lead comes in, if you got an incoming call and somebody doesn't what we call give good phone, if you don't give good phone, you're out. So you got to give good phone. That's one of our sections in the dojo when you're in the Kaizen program.
And what do you mean by give good phone? If you could just
not a problem. Your phone, of course, if when you're answering the phone in an office, I'll give everybody a quick tip right now. You'll probably notice if you're watching this right now, Vikram is standing up, I'm standing up. Just by standing up when you answer a phone call, your energy will change. It will shift to a higher level. And I don't care what it is you're selling. Now, again, I'm not suggesting that you need to be hopped up on cocaine here. I'm suggesting, however, that you need to have good, positive energy that is attentive, because in our world, and if you see it up on my wall, it's highest energy wins.
Boom.
Highest energy wins. So if you're standing up versus sitting down, I promise you, if you just took this away from today, above and beyond the two-step of acknowledge and ask a question, if you stand up on every phone call, you're already going to give better phone. Giving good phone requires you to have great energy, be positive, and what else? Ask questions. Because the giveaway that people have is they're not asking enough questions.
So the power of incantations, what are they? Incantations is essentially a word, a phrase. it's not an affirmation. It's like, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. That's has no energy, has no horsepower. An incantation is almost like it's a command to your subconscious brain. It's saying, this is the truth, and I'm projecting it out into the world, and it will happen. And you're saying it with your whole body, your whole physiology. You are going all in with this. So the reason why these are so powerful is these three main concepts. Number one is the three S's. We talked about that. The state, it is invoking a much more powerful state for you. Number two, your story. When you're saying these things, you believe it. The story, the kind of thought process you have is more of an empowering belief system versus a limiting belief system. And finally, your strategy, right? When you're in this kind of powerful, energetically charged up state, you come up with better strategies. You come up with better decision making. You can brainstorm. You're more creative. And if you either trigger this with exercise or combine it with exercise, such as breath work, such as HIIT training, high intensity interval training, boxing, running, something like that, that even makes it even more powerful. And then finally, I'm sure you're wondering, okay, fine, Vic, I like the concept of incantations, but what are they? How do I say it? Like, what are they? And so I'm going to share with you some of the ones I use on a frequent basis. And, you're welcome to come up with your own or adapt some of one of mine. Okay. So here's like about, 8 or 9 of them. Number one, all I need is within me now. All I need is within me now. And you say that over and over, and you're walking, your physiology, you're doing power poses, your core is, tucked in, you're standing straight. You have a deep breath. You're walking with command, with presence, right? Next is every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. It's an old one. It's been around for years, but it's an amazing one. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. You can do variations on that. Every day in every way, I'm getting stronger and stronger. Every day in every way, I'm getting, I'm happier and happier. You can choose whatever you want at the end of it, but the generic one is better and better. Next is I'm a force for good. I'm a force for God. I'm a force for good. I'm a force for God. And you just feel it in your soul, if you will. Next is, you can just say something as simple as yes, yes, yes. And because yes has so much more power. Like when you say no, where does that come from? No, it's like at the sort of the tip of your tongue. It's sort of there. But when you say yes, your whole face changes, your body, your physique changes. And it's really, really powerful. So the other one is I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. This comes from Kamal Ravikant's book. I think Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And he did this experiment where I think for 3 months, he just kept on saying this. This was his ongoing inner conversation and this guy's like, I think a venture capitalist. He's a successful businessman, very not woo-woo, if you will. But he kept on using this word. I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. And essentially made it ingrained. It was part of his meditation. It was just the one thing he kept repeating. And man, everything started happening. Flow state, friends showing up, money, capital, anything he wanted was just starting to happen because he was in this vibration, this frequency of love, of gratitude, of happiness, of joy. So I love myself is another good one. And a variation on this is called I love my life. 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 And what you're doing is you're just saying, what you have is already awesome. I don't need anything else. If it comes, that's just a bonus. But what I have is great. I love my life. Another one is the best is yet to come. The best is yet to come, right? And you can sometimes combine it with this too shall pass. The best is yet to come. Another one I love is, everything I touch turns to gold. Everything I touch turns to gold. Everything I touch turns to gold. And then finally, I am a champion.
People who are very successful in life spend more time in non-urgent, important work than anybody else. And that's really what it is all about. Just like, I know what people are thinking. Well, I got to check my email and I got to check my text messages. Most of those things have been sitting there for 8 hours, right? Like you go to bed at 10 o'clock, you get up at 6. Somebody sent you a message at 10:15 last night, 15 minutes after you went to bed. It's been sitting there for at least 7 hours and 45 minutes. It can sit there another 90 minutes. That's what you have to overcome. You have to build the systems. You have to build the systems where this phone doesn't go out of airplane mode until an hour and a half after you've been up and you've done some work on your non-urgent important task that's moved you ahead, moved your family ahead, moved your kids' ahead in success because of what you did today. And when you got that, boom, you're going to be unbeatable.
I also want to let the listeners know, guys, everyone talks about morning routines, miracle mornings, power hours. But one of the most insightful things I learned from Craig was, that's actually a perverse form of procrastination. And it's not for everyone. Like, we're all high achievers. The people listening to this podcast, Craig, are the 1%ers. They're highly successful physicians, entrepreneurs, business owners, and they all probably have routines already, and they've heard of that, yada, yada, yada. But what's interesting is I want you to share with them like how it's actually the wrong thing to do first thing in the morning. And they can sort of piggyback off of the NUI time or the non-urgent important time, or what you call magic time.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the morning, first thing in the morning, 80% of people, probably 90% of people have the most discipline, willpower, and intention that they will have all day long. Right? The most discipline, willpower, and intention that you will have all day long. And so a lot of people default to quote unquote good activities. They're like, oh, I'm going to go work out. I'm, blah, blah, blah. Or I'm going to go and do some journaling, or I'm going to do meditation. And those things are good and helpful for you. But if you're a workout junkie, you're actually doing something quote unquote easy during the time of day when you need the greatest discipline, willpower, and intention. So I want you, to really think about what can you push off that is guaranteed you'll do later, right? Like if you're a strong Christian and you read the Bible first thing in the morning, you could continue to read the Bible first thing in the morning, or you could read it some other time of day, right? It doesn't matter what time of the day you read the Bible, as long as you read the Bible every day. But look at what you are not getting done. Look at the hardest thing in your life, the thing that you are avoiding, the resistance. What is it? You know, 3 years in a row, you said you wanted to write a book and you haven't started writing the book. Well, then get up first thing in the morning, start writing the book. That's when you have the greatest discipline, willpower, and intention. And if you use proper planning and preparation, which is another secret that that we can talk about here, it makes it so much easier for you to get up in the morning and do the hardest work. If you're, struggling to do your first investment, or if you're way behind on your taxes, if you try and do that stuff at 8:00 at night, you'll be tired. You'll have 2 glasses of wine. Your spouse will want to watch Netflix. Your kids will need some help. And it'll be like, I'll do it tomorrow night. And tomorrow night. And the next thing you know, it's 71 days later and you haven't done a single thing on something that you said is important. So you get up. And so, listen, let me just say this, Vic. If people are listening to this and they're like, I'm nailing everything, I don't need any more help, I'm as productive as possible, I'm happy, I'm as successful and fulfilled as possible, I don't need any more productivity, then ignore me. But if you are sitting there thinking to yourself, I've got this to-do list of important things, and that to-do list of important things is hardly getting knocked off. And there's been things on there, whether it's the writing of the book, or whether it's the finding of a better relationship, or fixing a current relationship, or losing 40 pounds, or whatever it is, like the thing that you're not doing needs to be done first thing.
And I want to equip our listeners with the best strategies, the best tactics to really reclaim their greatness and make 2022 the best year ever. So with that said, let's transition to a couple of things. Like, the common complaint I hear when I talk to my physician colleagues and friends is time, right? They are not, time owns them. They don't own time. What is the 80-20? What is the 20% things that will get them 80% of the results in creating more time, optimizing time, or enjoying the time that they do have?
I love that question for high performers. And I laugh because this is probably one of the biggest things that a lot of, 1%ers are up against, right? Because they don't know what's called the rule of 168. And the rule of 168 decrees, that means that everyone that's listening to this beautiful podcast has 168 hours in a week. You've got 168 hours, Vic. I've got them. The listeners got them. Now we sleep for a bunch of those. We eat, we pay the bills, we play with the kids. But really, what are you doing with that extra time? where you're not at your W-2, but you could be literally improving your state or your story by literally really accessing what we call a strategy. And there are time management strategies that we teach where you're either doing busy work or task work, or you're doing outcome focused, high impact, high income work. And I think the 1%ers are smart enough to know that it's time to do a personal inventory of where they spend their time. And once they define where they typically spend their time, is to do something that I call the positive purge. And the positive purge is almost like, if you think about Elon Musk, a high performer, when he has to put an electric battery in a smart car or a Tesla, he's got to keep it tight and compact. So he's famous for not adding things to the car, but to take things off to make it even easier. And that's kind of like the positive purge for high performers. What are you doing right now that you should not be doing anymore? What are you doing right now that doesn't add tremendous value to your business or your life? What are you doing right now that you could delegate to a virtual assistant or somebody like a personal assistant? Because I'm telling you, once you do this inventory and you start to think like Elon Musk, or you start to think like a high performer, you start to get these micro minutes back. And if you get micro minutes back and those add into 15, 20, 30 1-hour blocks, and you think about the compounding effect over a month or a quarter or a year, I'm telling you, that's where people get their time back and they're able to do something called optimize and maximize their business and their life.
Wow, I love that.
Thank you.
I love the reference to Elon Musk because that really resonates with me, and I'm sure many of the listeners. These people are not superheroes that we sort of adore and put on pedestals. They're real human beings. They just happen to, like you said, optimize and maximize their life, and we got to learn, right? Success does leave clues. There's patterns to progress. There's patterns to success, and if you adapt to similar strategies, you will get the similar results.
And that is the third aspect. That's the strategy that sometimes people don't have. And by listening to this show and listening to all of your great guests or working with you or a coach, you start to see that there's a different way to present your calendar, right? So you can do the W-2 stuff or at the practice or at your business. You can have great date nights with your spouse. You can have quality time with your kids, right? You can have some time for recreation, because we really separate things into colors. You got brown time, which is like watching television, green time, which is like working on your business and your life, and then gold time, which is all of those things that add tremendous value in, perpetuity.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Limitless MD. If you found value from this episode, I encourage you to share this episode with a friend and let me know by leaving a review. For more information, make sure you check out the links in the show notes below or simply visit vikramraya.com. So until next time, my friends, be phenomenal.